We begin with Iran's ruling on the espionage case against Washington Post journalist Jason Rezaian. While it's issued a ruling, it has not yet revealed any details, only stating that Rezaian has 20 days to appeal it. Rezaian's brother Ali issued a statement saying, quote, "The Iranian government has never provided any proof of the trumped-up espionage and other charges against Jason." So today's vague statement on a purported verdict, while certainly disappointing to our family, is not surprising. For more, John Defterius reports from Abu Dhabi.
Sentenced after nearly 450 days behind bars, on Sunday, Iran's judiciary confirmed a verdict has been reached in the trial of American journalist Jason Rezaian. But in a process that's been shrouded in secrecy from the start, even the verdict is not clear. The judiciary says Rezaian and his attorney have 20 days to appeal what has been handed down. The U.S. State Department says they are monitoring the situation and continue to call for all charges against Jason to be dropped. Rezaian began working for the Washington Post in Tehran in 2012. In the spring of 2014, he and his Iranian wife, Yeganeh, talked with CNN's Anthony Bourdain about the challenges of reporting from Iran.
The difficult part is convincing people on the other side of the world that what we're telling you we're seeing in front of our eyes is actually there. When you walk down the street, you see a different side of things. People are proud. The culture is vibrant. People have a lot to say.
6 weeks later, Rezaian and his wife were detained, their home ransacked. Yeganeh was released on bail, but he remained in prison. Nearly 5 months later, he was charged with espionage. He was put on trial in May of this year, facing a 20-year sentence if convicted. The last court proceeding was held in August, and the Washington Post again appealed for his release. Iran's Judiciary News Service has said his arrest has nothing to do with his being a journalist, with one Iranian official saying last week that Rezaian was linked to, quote, a faction in the U.S. Senate who planned to bring about regime change in Iran. Recently, hopes for his release were raised when Iranian President Hassan Rouhani suggested that Rezaian and other Americans in Iranian jails could be part of an exchange for Iranians convicted in the U.S. on charges related to nuclear technology.
If the Americans take the appropriate steps and set them free, certainly the right environment will be open and the right circumstances will be created for us to do everything within our power and our purview to bring about the swiftest freedom for the Americans held in Iran as well.
For now, those aspirations have been dashed as a secretive legal process plays out in Tehran.
Now for reaction from Rezaian's employer, Washington Post foreign editor Douglas Jehl joins us now from Washington. Douglas, Jason Rezaian is being accused of being a spy. This entire trial has been held behind closed doors. What do you make of today's development?
Well, it's another example of the sham proceedings that Jason has faced in Iran. We have Iran saying their verdict has been issued, but they're not going to say what it is, and that, by the way, it's not final either. That's the kind of secrecy and double talk that has pervaded this entire case. And I think what it really suggests is that this is a decision that's going to be taken far beyond Iran's judiciary. Whether Jason is going to be released is now clearly in the hands of Iran's senior leadership.
Friday, of course, marked Jason's 444th day behind bars. That's the same length of time as the Americans that were held during the Iranian hostage crisis. Is the U.S. government doing enough?
We've been grateful for the steps they have taken. They've called public attention to Jason's case. They've raised it many times with the Iranian authorities. That said, we think they could be doing much more at the highest levels of the U.S. government to be working with Jason's family and with the Washington Post to bring him home.
And Douglas, during Jason's time behind bars, how much communication has he had with his family, his wife, his mother, with you, with his employer during that time?
He's been isolated for the vast bulk of that time. We have never been able to speak with him. His brother, Ali, who lives in the United States, hasn't been able to speak with him. His mother and his wife have been able to see him occasionally, but that's really the only contact he's had with the outside world.
If he is found guilty, what will he face? What sort of punishment could he face there?
You know, we know so little about this case that it's difficult to say what Iran has accused him of, what supposed purported evidence they have, what the penalty might be, has all been a mystery. Our understanding is that the sentence could be as high as 20 years, but again, the case has been so mysterious, so full of opacity, it's just difficult to know.
And this, of course, comes at a very sensitive time in Iran, doesn't it?
It does. The nuclear agreement with the United States is perhaps even more controversial inside Iran as it is in the United States. There are a lot of forces jockeying with one another for leadership inside Iran, and I really believe that Jason, who's an innocent, accredited journalist, a good man, has been the victim of these larger forces at work.
We can only hope that he is released soon. Douglas Jehl, we really appreciate your time today. Thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you.